David used to run to keep up with his father. Now he slows down, so his father doesn't have to. It wasn't a decision he made. He didn't wake up one day and say, "This is the day everything changes." It happened without asking, without warning, and once he noticed it, he couldn't unsee it. There's a path they've walked his entire life, a narrow trail behind his father's house, lined with trees that bend inward like they're listening. They've walked it for decades, 100 times, maybe more, in summer heat, in winter cold, in the kind of rain that makes sensible people stay inside. But last month, they walked it again, and everything was different. This is Stories of Connection. Today's story is about the moment you realize your father is getting older, not because he tells you, but because his footsteps do. When David was 8, he had to jog to keep up with his father. His father's legs were long. He never looked back to check if David was there. He just knew. David remembers the sound of his father's boots on gravel, the rhythm of his stride, the way the world seemed to move forward because his father did. He'd be half running, half laughing, trying not to fall behind. And when he complained, his father would say, "Come on, this is nothing." Back then, David believed him. David's father was never a man who slowed down. Not for weather, not for obstacles, not for anyone. He worked with his hands his whole life, built things, fixed things, carried things that should have taken 2 men. David remembers watching him split wood in the backyard, the axe rising and falling like it weighed nothing. His arms didn't shake, his breathing didn't change. He made hard things look easy. That was just who he was. He walked like he had somewhere to be, even when he didn't. Eyes forward, shoulders square, no wasted motion. That was his way. You don't slow down. You rise to the pace. You keep up. And David did. He always did. By the time David was a teenager, he could match his father stride for stride. By his 20s, he was the one setting the pace. For years they walked that trail as equals. 2 men, same rhythm. No words needed. Just the sound of their boots on gravel and the trees listening. Last month, David caught himself mid-step. He was walking too fast. His father was 3 paces behind him, maybe 4. He turned around, and for the first time in his life, he saw his father trying to keep up with him. That's when something shifted, and he didn't understand it yet. At first, David told himself it was nothing. His father had a long week. The weather was warmer than usual. Everyone slows down sometimes. So he adjusted without thinking, shortened his stride, waited at turns, pretended to look at something interesting so his father could catch his breath without him watching. The next walk, he paid closer attention, hoping he'd imagined it. Hoping his father would prove him wrong. He didn't. The next walk felt the same, and the one after that. Each time David noticed something new. The way his father's breathing changed on small hills. How his foot caught on roots he would have stepped over without thinking a year ago. How he paused at the halfway point, not to admire the view, but to steady himself. How he watched the ground now, in a way he never used to, his eyes down, scanning for obstacles. The man who never looked back now couldn't stop looking down. Still, David didn't say anything. Some truths feel rude when you say them out loud. They kept walking the trail, week after week. David started planning excuses for his father before he needed them. He's tired. He didn't sleep well. It's just age. Everyone slows down eventually. But the space between them stayed. 3 paces, sometimes 4, consistent as a clock. David kept asking himself, when did this happen? Had his father been slowing down for months? Years? Had he just not been paying attention? Or had he been too busy with his own life to notice? And then the silence did something unexpected. It got heavy. They used to fill the walk with noise, politics, sports, weather. Things they'd already talked about 100 times. The words didn't matter. It was just sound. Proof that they were there, together, on the trail. Now they walked quietly. Not awkward quiet, careful quiet. The kind where you don't want to ask the question, because asking it makes it real. David wanted his father to say something first, to laugh it off, to speed up and prove him wrong, to be the man with the axe again, making hard things look easy. He didn't. Here's the thing about watching a parent age. It doesn't happen all at once. There's no announcement, no single moment where everything shifts. It happens in inches, in footsteps, in the space between where they used to be and where they are now. And if you're not paying attention, you miss it. Until one day you turn around and they're not beside you anymore. They're behind you, trying to keep up. Halfway down the trail, his father stopped. Not suddenly, just stopped. He looked at the trees for a moment, then at David. His eyes weren't tired, they were clear, present. And he said, quietly, "You know, I used to walk fast because I had somewhere to be." He smiled a little. "Now I walk slow because I'm already where I want to be." David didn't answer. There was nothing to add. His father wasn't asking for sympathy. He wasn't complaining. He was just telling his son something true. That was the moment David realized something he couldn't take back. He had spent the whole walk grieving what his father was losing. His speed, his strength, his stride, the man with the axe, the man who never looked back. But his father wasn't grieving at all. He was just present, with his son, on their trail, watching the trees. The slowing down wasn't lost to him. It was arrival. David wasn't slowing down for his father. He was slowing down with him. The roles hadn't reversed in one dramatic moment. They'd softened, blurred. His father wasn't weak. David wasn't strong. They were just there, together, in the same stretch of time. Finally walking at the same pace, not because they had to, but because they chose to. The walks got slower, but they got longer. They talked more than they had in years, about his father's childhood, about his grandfather, a man David never met. His father told him about the day his own father died, how he was 23 and thought he had more time, how he never said the things he meant to say, how he carried that silence for 50 years. He told David about mistakes he'd made, regrets he'd never named out loud, things he was proud of, but had never said, stories David had never heard, because there had never been space. They were always moving too fast. The space between them closed, not because his father sped up, because David stopped rushing ahead. Have you noticed yourself slowing down with someone you love? I'd love to hear what that looked like for you. Here's what David's story taught me. Slowing down feels like loss, until you realize what it gives you. Time doesn't warn you when it changes the pace. It just waits for you to notice. We spend so much of our lives rushing, trying to keep up, trying to get ahead, measuring ourselves by how fast we move. And then one day, someone we love can't keep our pace anymore. And we have a choice. We can keep walking fast and leave them behind, or we can slow down and finally walk beside them. The slowing down isn't the loss. The slowing down is where the connection lives. It's where the conversations happen, where the stories come out, where the silence stops being empty and starts being full. So if you find yourself walking slower with someone you love, don't fight it. Match their pace. Stay beside them. Let the walk take as long as it takes. Because that space you're making, that's where the connection lives now. And if there's someone in your life whose pace has changed, a parent, a grandparent, someone you love, don't wait for a reason to slow down with them. Take the walk. Pay attention. Because one day you'll wish you had one more slow walk together. And the things they tell you when you're not rushing, those might be the things you remember forever. What have the slower moments given you with someone you love? Tell me in the comments. This is Stories of Connection, True stories about family, time passing faster than you realize, and the words never spoken that still make your soul bleed. Let's meet again next week for another story. Until then, don't wait.